Chapter 3986. Why haven't you come? Why can't you hear Xiaobao's voice? Didn't you say that you would always be by Xiaobao and mother's side? As he finished speaking, little Bao was unable to support himself any longer, and his little body trembled violently. Tears rolled down her cheeks like a broken dam. The heart-wrenching cries were heart-wrenching. Di Mingju only feels that his heart aches so much that he's almost unable to breathe. He fiercely hugs the little body that's silently weeping and trembling in his arms. I'm sorry, it's Daddy's fault, Daddy came late. I'm sorry. Xiaobao opened his mouth, wanting to say something. Suddenly, he felt a warm liquid dripping onto his neck. Her father's body was so hot that he didn't even have an outer robe on him. He was only wearing a blood-stained inner robe. He suddenly realized something. Daddy was injured. It's not that father doesn't want to come and save Nyangqin, he must have been held up by something. Also, such a powerful and lofty father had cried, crying and apologizing to him. Xiaobao tightens her grip on Di Mingju's sleeve, burying her whole body in his embrace. Choking with sobs, she said, Father, Mother didn't die, right? Mother, martial uncles and martial uncles won't die, right? Di Mingju doesn't know what happened to Mayan and the others. But at this moment, the cause and effect were no longer important to him. He nodded without hesitation, yes, Father will definitely save Mother. Even if he has to risk his life, even if he has to go against the heavens, he must let Mayan survive. Listening to the man's firm words, Xiaobao's heart finally relaxed. His consciousness began to blur, and his eyelids gradually became heavy. But his little hand is still clutching Di Mingju's lapel, and he says in a low voice, Xiaobao is so scared, but Daddy is here, so... I'm not afraid. Di Mingju kisses Xiaobao on the forehead, and cautiously sends him and the fat rabbit into the small world. Xiaobao's injuries were all superficial wounds. Moreover, he had a celestial physique, so he only needed to rest in a place with sufficient celestial qi for a period of time, and he would be able to recover on his own. Now that he had fainted, the most important thing was that his body and mind were heavily injured. He had also fought with the sea beasts for a few days and nights, and his celestial energy was overdrawn. The small world was tailor-made by Di Mingju for Xiaobao. There was plenty of immortal qi inside, and there was no danger. Most importantly, even if his god had collapsed and his soul perished, this small world that he had separated would still be safe and sound. Moreover, this small world was originally sealed off, and outsiders were unable to enter or detect it. But so long as little Bao attained the peak of the mysterious immortal realm, then he would be able to open it up by himself and wait for the arrival of his heavenly tribulation to advance into the immortal king realm. This small world can be said to be the last thing that Di Mingju has left for Xiaobao. After sending Xiaobao away, Di Mingju steps forward and picks Mayan up. The coldness and lack of vitality in his hand caused a buzzing sound to ring in his mind. His blood and energy surged, and his god had collapsed to the ground. Di Mingju takes a deep breath, clasps Mayan's hand, and tentatively sends a bit of divine essence into her body. He sensed that the divine essence he sent was being absorbed by Mayan's body. Di Mingju's spirit shakes, and without the slightest hesitation, he instills the spiritual energy that supports his cultivation and life into that ice-cold and thin body. As time goes by, Mu Yan's cold body begins to warm up. There was still no pulse or heartbeat in his body, but there was a faint flow of spiritual power in his meridians and dantian. Di Mingju, on the other hand, fiercely vomits out a large mouthful of blood because he has consumed a large amount of his divine essence. Chapter 3987. His injuries were extremely serious, and his godhead was forcibly suppressed by the medicine king, Han Chuzhou, using various heavenly treasures. At this time, his divine essence was greatly consumed, and his godhead began to collapse again. Once it collapsed, it would be beyond redemption. But he couldn't care about anything else. Although Mu Yan's condition has improved, there's still no heartbeat, and even her divine soul has been torn apart. Di Mingju doesn't understand medicine, so he doesn't know how to treat such a near-death injury. All he can do is exchange his life and lifespan for her. If he doesn't have enough divine essence, then he will also block his 3 souls and 7 spirits. The only woman he deeply loves in this life. He already owes his Yen so much, how can he just watch her die in front of him? Di Mingju wipes the blood from the corner of his mouth, and lowers his head to lightly kiss Mu Yan's cold and soft lips. Then he grabs her wrist again, and injects his divine essence. Guji. Just then, a furry head bursts out from Mu Yan's waist. Its big round eyes look at Di Mingju, then it spreads its little wings and lets out a cheerful cry, "Daddy." As it cries, it flaps its wings excitedly and pounces towards his face. Di Mingju has to stop the infusion of divine essence, and grabs its hind legs, pulling it down from his body. The little chick grumbles in dissatisfaction, and tilts its head. Why doesn't Daddy play kiss, hug, and raise Huang Huang high? His line of sight turns, and he sees Mu Yan lying on the ground. His big eyes suddenly brighten, and he reveals an expression of sudden realization, Guji. Woof woof woof. I know, Mommy is sleeping, so Daddy also wants to sleep with Mommy, right? Good, good. Huang Huang also wants to sleep. Daddy, let's sleep together. Di Mingju is the only 2 people in this world who can completely understand the little chick's language. For a moment, he's dizzy from the little guy's series of sleep. Even that tragic and painful feeling just now seems to have lightened a lot. Only this little guy can be so naive and happy at any time, right? Di Mingju throws the little chick aside, and grabs Mu Yan's hand again. He is about to inject his divine essence. Suddenly, he feels that his eyelids are getting heavier, and there seems to be a voice in his head saying, "Sleep, sleep, and you can get everything you want." Damn it! How could he sleep at a time like this? How could he not be able to control himself and want to sleep? Just because Huang Huang said it wanted to sleep with its parents. Was there really such an evil creature in this world? In the end, Di Mingju still can't resist the heavy drowsiness. He collapses beside Mayan and closes his eyes. The last thing he remembered was little Chick happily squeezing between his parents, pulling out a piece of floral cloth to make a blanket for himself before closing his eyes. There seemed to be a melodious song coming from the distant horizon. Life was like a dream. The long and ancient time turned to nothing in an instant. There was love in life, and this hatred had nothing to do with the moon or the wind. Holding hands and waiting for 1,000 years in vain, life after life, the wrong marriage. My lord, are you really going to spend so much money to buy the child in that bitch's womb? Don't tell me that you're going to go back on your word after we dig the child out. The whistling wind brushed past his ears, accompanied by hushed whispers. Di Mingju slowly opens his eyes. What he saw was a middle-aged woman with a greedy expression. She was bowing to a man in black. Chapter 3988. This is the deposit. As long as you do things properly, there will naturally be benefits for you. Remember to cut off her entire womb palace and give it to me. The child in her belly must not be harmed in the slightest. Don't worry, Darren, we absolutely guarantee to deliver the fresh and living child to Darren's hands. We've heard that a 7-month-old baby still wrapped in a placenta is the most nourishing thing for a woman. The conversation between the 2 people trickles into Di Mingju's ears. It sobers up his somewhat muddled consciousness. What is this place? The spiritual energy has dried up, and the air of desolation is overflowing. The 2 people in front of him don't even have half a spiritual root. This is the Yenwu continent. And the two people in front of him are talking about buying and selling the baby in a woman's belly. Why is he here? Mu Yan is seriously injured and her life is hanging by a thread. How can he waste time in a place like this? Di Mingju is about to surge his divine power and tear the space to go back. But he suddenly finds something wrong. He can't use his divine power. Even though he's standing next to the two people talking, they don't notice his existence at all. Di Mingju is startled and reaches out to brush the trees on the side. But his hand passes through them. He's not a real entity. Gujiji, a familiar voice, comes to his ears. Immediately after, a fluffy yellow dumpling jumps onto his shoulder and gives him a silly smile. Daddy, Daddy, Huang Huang found you. Di Mingju snaps, what's going on? Where did you take Ben Jun? What do you want to do? The little chick blinks, then starts chattering nonsense again. But Di Mingju understands. You're saying, this is Mu Yan's dream. The little chick tilts its head, somewhat hesitant, probably, yes. Huang Huang doesn't understand, Huang Huang doesn't know, it was Daddy who said he wanted to sleep with Mommy. Huang Huang didn't cause any trouble. It sheepishly says as it flaps its little wings. Di Mingju doesn't get angry, but instead falls into contemplation. He heard Mu Yan say that the little chick has an extraordinary origin, and may be the young master of Wushang Palace. And it has too many secrets. It seems to be born with good luck. Mayan had been on the brink of death several times, thinking that she was going to die, but the little chick had saved her by accident. Would it be the same this time? Mu Yan's dantian and meridians can already operate, but her soul is split into pieces. Did the little chick accidentally send him here? Is it because Mu Yan's broken soul is here? Divine essence could maintain the vitality of Mu Yan's body, but it couldn't condense her divine soul and let her come back to life. And the key to Mu Yan's survival lies here. Di Mingju slowly steadies his mind, and begins to use his divine sense to explore the surroundings. Yes, he could not use his divine power, and his body could not touch the physical objects around him, but his consciousness still existed. However, the amount of divine sense he could use was very little, and he could only detect the general situation within a few miles. Is this Mu Yan's dream? It seemed like it, but it also seemed like it wasn't. Although the ability to enter one's dream was rare, it wasn't as if no one in the Shushan continent had ever cultivated it. However, the scene he saw in the dream was blurry, dreamy, and unstable. It would definitely not be as stable as the scene in front of him. Moreover, when entering a dream, one could use immortal energy, but not divine sense, because a person's dream did not have a physical body. Therefore, this is not Mu Yan's dream. Chapter 3989. Therefore, this isn't Mu Yan's dream. Rather, it's the great illusionary land. This is the dreamlike, small world that Mu Yan has created. Di Mingju doesn't have the time to marvel at Mu Yan's ability to create such a fake world with her cultivation. At this moment, he's more concerned about what is hidden in this small world. Where is Mu Yan's soul? His divine sense sweeps through the row of houses behind the woman, finally stopping at a dilapidated house. There's the breath of a young woman there. No, not just one, but two. But the other one is very small and weak, attached to the woman. That's a fetus. Di Mingju doesn't know why his heart sinks, and he subconsciously wants to check on the young pregnant woman's situation. That greedy woman has just received the gold coins, and she turns around to walk inside the house. As she walks, she shouts, "Have you prepared the scissors and the food box? What are you dilly-dallying for? Don't you know that the noble person is in a hurry to get the goods? If you delay any longer, that little slut will wake up." Soon, several figures rush out of the kitchen, heading towards the dilapidated house. Mother, rest assured, so what if she wakes up? That little slut's hands and feet are tied by us, and she doesn't have any cultivation. How could she escape from our palms? I really didn't expect that the fetus in that little slut's belly could be sold for such a high price. Mother, do you think we should find a few more men for that little slut, raise a few more children? When the time comes, we won't have anything we want. They all laugh excitedly. While discussing this cruel matter, they excitedly and eagerly push open the door of the dilapidated house, without the slightest bit of guilt or fear on their faces. When the door is pushed open, Deming-ju finally sees the scene inside the house. With just one glance, his eyes suddenly turn crimson red. The anger in his chest almost burns away all of his reason. Even the entire great illusionary land can't bear his anger and begins to tremble and collapse. G. The little chick is so scared that it hides in Deming-ju's arms. Father save me, mother save me, it's going to collapse, I can't sleep. The yellow-colored demonic voice pierces his ears, making Deming-ju's almost shattered reason slowly return. He clenched his fists tightly, closed his eyes, and told himself over and over again that he could not lose control. Only then did he manage to suppress his surging anger. This is the great illusionary land created by Mayan. It's fake. He must not destroy this small world, otherwise Mu Yen would really be beyond saving. However, every time he looked at the scene in front of him, his eyes would turn bloodshot, and he would almost lose control of himself. In the messy, run-down house, the thin and frail girl's abdomen bulged out. Her thin arms and legs were tied tightly to the bedpost. That girl is Mayan. It was Mu Yen who was carrying Xiao Bao, so fragile, so young, so helpless. The few people who entered the door approached her with greedy and cruel faces. They took out scissors and cut open her clothes. The girl suddenly came to her senses. Seeing this scene, a terrified expression appeared on his face. She cried and begged. She struggled with all her might, but she could only watch helplessly as these people used knives to cut open her stomach. The intense pain caused her to faint again and again, only to wake up again and again. From begging and crying at the beginning to despair and resentment. She looks at everyone in front of her with eyes full of hatred, and there's a bone-piercing killing intent in them. The woman meets her eyes, and immediately yells, "Little slut, what are you looking at? You've done something shameful, and you still have the face to glare at me." Chapter 3990. Shameless thing, having an illicit relationship at such a young age, and even getting pregnant. You've completely lost the face of our Sioux family. Right now, I'm helping you get rid of this evil creature in your stomach so that you can marry again in the future. That's for your own good. It's fine if you don't know how to be grateful, but you actually dare to glare at me. He really is an ungrateful wretch. The moment the fetus was cut out, everything in front of him was covered in blood red. The world spun and the stars moved. The scenes in front of him changed rapidly. Time seemed to flow at its fastest speed. But it was still enough for people to clearly see everything that had happened in that short 10 years. The helpless girl was spurned, schemed against, and hurt because she got pregnant out of wedlock. The baby in her womb had been dug out, and this filled her with hatred. However, he couldn't help but feel grateful to the woman who saved him from the fire pit and helped him take revenge. However, she did not know that the woman who saved her was the culprit who murdered her. She had been schemed against again and again, sent to Wanrenku, and used as a stepping stone. He was so young, but he had tasted all the suffering in the world. But in the end, the only thing that remained of his sincerity was deceived and used. She knew the truth in despair. She knew that the woman she treated as her best friend was actually the murderer who killed the child in her womb. The only reason for all this was that the child she was carrying was a fairy body. As long as he refined the child into a pill, he would be able to ascend and become an immortal. In the midst of endless despair, she chose to self-destruct. Fresh blood dyed the entire great illusionary land red. It was her blood, her tears. It was a grievance she couldn't erase from her previous life, no matter how glorious and confident she was in this life. G. Baddie, baddie, baddie. I'll kill the bastard who bullied my mother. The little chick was so angry that it flapped its wings and danced about madly. It wanted nothing more than to slice Gong Chinchua and the others into pieces. It's just a pity that it's the same as Demingju, only a passerby in this great illusionary land. It's a shadow without a physical body. Therefore, after fighting for a long time, he was so tired that he was gasping for breath, but there was nothing he could do. At this moment, everything in the great illusionary land had returned to the beginning. It was still the greedy woman and the man in black who were discussing selling the fetus. There was also the young girl who was tied up in the rundown house, experiencing heart-wrenching pain and despair over and over again. This was an endless cycle of reincarnation, a nightmare that could not see the light of day. And Mu Yan's 3 souls and 7 spirits were currently sinking into this nightmare, repeatedly tossing and turning, wasting time until her soul flew away and scattered. Little Inghua is tired from fighting, so he throws himself at Di Mingju's feet, wanting to seek comfort from his father. However, just as she rushes under Di Mingju, she feels something dripping on her body. The little chick raised its head and let out a low cry. "Dad, are your eyes watery? Daddy, are you crying?" Di Mingju slowly crouches down. He seemed to want to reach out and stroke the little chick. However, he curled up as if he was in extreme pain. It hurts. It was really painful. It was as if his heart was about to explode. What did he see? What exactly is this great illusionary land? Was it real or just a dream? If it was real, if all these were Mayan's memories, then what did he do to Mayan, to Xiao Bao? In the 7 years that he didn't know, in the 7 years that he forgot everything, in the 7 years that he was the emperor of the polar domain. The woman that he loved the most, his only child, what did she experience? Chapter 3991. In the land of the cursed god, Mu Yan's intrusion saved his life. In his delirium, he forced Yan Yan to bear his child at such a young age. That child had a celestial spiritual body, which made all the evil people in the world greedy. Thus, Mu Yan's nightmare began. And he, Di Mingju, is the main culprit behind all of this. Goo goo. Little Inghua lets out a low cry, nudging Di Mingju with his little head, his big eyes filled with worry. "Dad, what's wrong with you? Is it very painful? Huang Huang will blow it for you, okay? Daddy, don't cry. Mommy and big brother will be sad if you cry." Di Mingju can't bear it any longer. He covers his face with both hands, tears pouring down like a broken dam. "Yan Yan, how can I redeem my sins? What can I do to make up for all the hurt you've suffered all these years? Yan Yan, how can I say I'm sorry again, and, I love you? G. The little chick is anxiously circling around the Di Mingju. Why does Daddy keep crying? Are you really sad? However, he thought that only Huang Huang and his brother would cry. It turns out that Daddy can also cry shamefully. As the little chick is at its wit's end, it sees Di Mingju slowly getting up. G. Daddy, are you done crying? Are we going out? Sleeping isn't fun. Let's go out and find Mom and brother, okay? Di Mingju grabs it in his hand, and presses his palm on its forehead. A pale blue light shrouds the top of the little chick's head. Huang Huang, thank you. Thank you for showing me all this. Thank you for letting me know just how much I owe Mu Yan and Xiao Bao. It's so much that I might not be able to repay it all in my lifetime. The man's hoarse voice was accompanied by a cool and refreshing aura that enveloped his body, causing Huang Huang to close its eyes comfortably. The entire chicken felt drowsy. However, Little Chick still felt that something was wrong. It shook its little head, trying desperately to wake up. However, the power was too gentle and comfortable. The little chick couldn't resist it anymore and fell asleep. Then, its figure began to slowly fade and dissipate into the air. In the great illusionary land, one could not use divine power, spiritual power, or immortal power. Deming-ju is also unable to condense a solid body, unable to have any effect on everything around it. Just like what had happened in the previous cycle. Even if they were driven mad by hatred and pain, they could only watch from the sidelines, unable to interfere. But this time, Deming-ju slowly walks over to the girl tied to the crude wooden bed. He reached out and held her in his arms. Divine power surged, and the fragile hemp rope broke. He easily picked up the girl. A look of panic appeared on the girl's face. Who are you? What do you want to do? The panicked voices stopped abruptly. Deming-ju tightly presses that thin and cold body into his arms, hoarsely saying, Yen Yen, don't be afraid, I'll take you home. The girl in his arms opened her mouth. Who are you? I don't know you. She wants to struggle, but Deming-ju hugs her tightly, so tightly that he practically kneads her into his own flesh and blood. He didn't say anything. He just repeated over and over, Yen Yen, don't be afraid. I'll take you home. His hoarse voice echoed in the girl's ears. A faint blue ball of light like a star bursts out from Deming-ju's body, drilling into the girl's body. You! The girl's eyes widen in shock, seemingly wanting to say something. Chapter 3992. But very quickly, everything in front of her starts to spin. That's the Big Dipper changing, the sea turning into mulberry fields. The appearance of the thin and weak girl with a big belly gradually begins to change. Her sallow skin became sparkling and translucent. Her timid and flustered eyes were now overflowing with radiance and color. The dry and messy long hair turns into fine black hair, flowing in the air. Her pupils were originally unfocused, pitch black without a bit of light. Now, they gradually reflect the man's shadow. Ming. Ju, she calls out her lover's name in a low, hoarse voice. The man opposite her smiles gently at her. That smile is indescribably gentle and penetrating, with an indescribable lingering affection. His slender hand lifts up, gently caressing her face. He says, Yen Yen, don't be afraid, I'll take you home. In that instant, Mu Yan's heart is unreasonably soft, and unreasonably sweet. She wants to say that she has never been afraid. Not because she doesn't fear death, but because she has always believed that Deming-ju will not abandon her. So even if she faces a venerable immortal like Lu Xingyuan, she still believes that she still has a way out. That's because she made a promise to this man to stay by his side for a lifetime. This promise hasn't been fulfilled yet, how could she be willing to die? Mu Yan's mouth hooks up into a shallow smile, softly saying, All right, I'm not afraid. Her voice hasn't fallen when her complexion suddenly changes. Deming-ju. She suddenly reaches out and grabs the man's arm, her divine sense probing his body. She's scared witless. Deming-ju, what did you do? Why is your soul broken like this? You. Before she can finish speaking, she's already tightly embraced by the man. Yen Yen, let me hold you a little longer. As the two embrace, more blue starlight flows from Di Mingju into Mu Yan's body. Mu Yan's pupils suddenly contract. You're using your soul to mend my soul. Di Mingju, are you crazy? With my spirit, I'll ferry your soul. With my spirit, I'll nourish your vitality. With my life, I'll exchange your life. Mu Yan only feels a loud bang in her head, and in a split second, she almost loses all her senses. When she came back to her senses, she hurriedly struggled with all her might, wanting to break free from his embrace, but she was held tighter and tighter. The man hugged her as if he was hugging the most important treasure. He was afraid that if he let go, he would lose it. Yen Yen, how can I leave you behind? How could I have abandoned you back then? Hot tears fell on her neck, so hot that even her heart trembled. Mu Yan stares blankly, only feeling that even her own soul is aching. She opened her mouth to say something. His slender hands covered her eyes, and a cold blue light shrouded her. Her consciousness gradually became hazy. Vaguely, she felt the man's cold lips on her own. Yen Yen, you must live well. I love you, till death do me part, Di Mingju. What do you want to do? Mu Yan desperately wants to open her eyes and question the man. However, the cold and gentle blue light completely enveloped her soul, slowly stealing away her consciousness. At the same time, countless blue starlight surged into her soul form. Bit by bit, it mends her broken soul. Mu Yan can feel that her 3 souls and 7 spirits, which were originally riddled with holes, are starting to solidify. She once again sensed the existence of her body, sensed the space of the Tian Mo Qin, and the corpses of her fellow apprentices in the book tower. Chapter 3993. She was healing. She finally had a slim chance of survival. He was able to use the nirvana of stars to revive his fellow disciples. But the price of this slim chance of survival is Di Mingju's life. How can she trade Di Mingju's life for her own? If she could open her eyes at this moment and see that stupid man, she would definitely give him a tight slap. Di Mingju, how could you think that without you, Jun Mayan could still live alone in this world? Why do you think that living a life worse than death is better than dying? Di Mingju, do you still remember that we said that we would stay together for a long time, that we would look at the scenery of the 4 seasons together? Do you still remember that you promised to give me and Xiao Bao a happy home? If you die, how will the family be called home? How can we be happy? She would not allow it. Absolutely not. No one can take away her husband, her Di Mingju. Not even the heavenly Tao or fate. She was a Shin musician. She was a Shin musician who could defy the heavens and change fate, who could bring the dead back to life, who could snatch a life from the hands of the king of hell, and who could struggle against the heavens for survival. Boom! The lone island crumbled, and the sea surged, sweeping up huge waves that reached the sky. The impassioned sound of the zither was accompanied by specks of blue light, diffusing between heaven and earth. A silver moon. A blazing sun. They rose into the sky one after the other. 9 stars slowly revolved around them, shining brilliantly. They dyed the sky, as well as illuminating the entire mountain and river. Southeast of the floating island. With Xiaoyao City as the center, Han Yi and the other 3 are looking for news of Di Mingju over and over again. However, the result was disappointing. Not to mention Di Mingju and Jun Mayan, they can't even find traces of the other 6 people of the Xiaoyao school. Even the people of Liberty City only knew that the 7 carefree sons had gone to train themselves, but they did not know their exact whereabouts. Originally, Wei Mian had a communication talisman to contact Mu Yan and Luo Yu. But when he burned the communication talisman, there was no response from the other side. Wei Mian's heart is also burning with impatience. He sends out 100,000 Xiaoyao army members to help Han Yi and the others search. However, several days and nights passed. The entire floating island was almost turned upside down, but nothing was found. Ending the communication with Star Wolf, Han Yi wants to release his divine sense. However, he only felt that his sea of consciousness was dry and painful. His face paled a little. A porcelain bottle was passed to him from the side, and Ing Mei's slightly hoarse voice came into his ears. Drink some jasper dew to regulate your breathing. Chapter 3994. The last, death, word, he can't say it no matter what. Ing Mei's heart surges with endless sorrow. She wants to say some comforting words, but she can't say them. That's because her fear and uneasiness at the moment is no less than Han Ye's. Her calmness is nothing more than a forced calmness. And this is the moment when the vision of heaven and earth happens. The two of them stand up abruptly, their eyes unblinkingly looking at the blazing sun and silver moon rising in the sky. The originally dim and obscure eyes are lit up little by the dazzling brilliance. The glorious sun swallows the sky, 9 stars connect to the moon. It's June Shang and Miss June, they're not dead. Ing Mei, they're not dead. That energy fluctuation is coming from the north, let's go find them. Han Yi is about to rush out as he speaks, but Ing Mei grabs his collar and pulls him back. At the same time, Ing Mei has already thrown out a flying boat, taking Han Yi and jumping on it. When the two of them are standing still, she takes out another bottle of jasper dew and drinks it. She sits down cross-legged, looking at Han Yi with disdain. Your knowledge sea is exhausted, your immortal power is dried up, what can you do by rushing to Jun Shang's side? Drag Jun Shang down. Han Yi comes back to his senses. He chuckles and promptly sits down cross-legged as well, beginning to adjust his breathing and absorb the immortal power in the jasper dew. The floating island, the shore of the Bohai Sea. 2 streaks of light come speeding from the east and west, eventually landing on the beach. Star Wolf, Ing Mei, and Han Yi arrive almost at the same time. And defeating armies is even faster than them. Star Wolf cuts a sorry figure as he falls down from the flying sword, his complexion deathly pale, his appearance weathered by the vicissitudes of life. He doesn't even have time to steady himself before rushing over to ask defeating armies, where's Jun Shang? Defeating armies slowly shakes his head, his expression grave. The energy fluctuation stopped after I arrived here. At this time, the rising sun and the silver moon have long disappeared without a trace. I didn't find Jun Shang, and I didn't see Miss June, how could this be? Star Wolf angrily says, that's the glorious sun swallows the sky, it must be Miss June and Jun Shang. Defeating armies takes a deep breath and says, I know, 9 stars connect to the moon, glorious sun swallows the sky, it must be Miss June and Jun Shang. I arrived here a few hours ago and checked the surroundings, including the deep sea. There are indeed no signs of living people. The expressions of the Star Wolf trio changed drastically, their minds on the verge of collapsing. However, defeating armies continued, but there's something very strange. I sensed energy fluctuations from the opening of a spatial barrier passage nearby. And not just 1 or 2, but a total of 8. What does this mean? Han Ye's eyes brighten. You're saying that Jun Shang and Miss June passed through the space barrier and left the floating island? But why are there 8 energy fluctuations? 8 energy fluctuations represented 8 different spatial barriers, 8 different entrances and exits. What was going on? Is Jun Shang safe or not? While the 4 of them were bewildered, the jade slip on defeating armies' waist lit up. Soon, Elder Chang's excited voice came from inside. Jun Shang has returned. He's in the numinous sky hall right now. The 4 of you, return quickly. In just half an hour, the beach on the shore of the Bohai Sea was restored to its calm state. Only the layers of waves curled up from time to time, rolling and crashing onto the shore. The rhythmic sound of the waves appears peaceful and serene. It's as if the previous bloody battle, the previous hatred, the previous love, hate, anger, and foolishness, all of it didn't happen. In the distant horizon, there seems to be the low cries of beasts and the melodious sounds of a zither, lingering and reverberating. That's a long farewell. That's a moving parting. That's the departure of a new road. Chapter 3995. At the southeast border of the Shushan continent. Blood stained the originally verdant and green fields. Creepy roars could be heard from time to time. In the cracks of the rocks in the distance, dozens of figures were shivering, their eyes full of fear. However, just when they were in despair, a golden light fell from the sky, covering the dark land. Unique Sanskrit gathered into a complicated flower table, crisscrossing in the void. With a loud bang, the Sanskrit exploded, and the golden light turned into a cold sword energy, instantly cutting the whole field. The horrible roars and shrill screams stopped abruptly. Seeing this scene, the people in the cracks of the rocks all widened their eyes, revealing ecstatic expressions. That's the Buddha's light of purification. We're saved, ha ha ha, some people cried, some people laughed. As the golden light turned into sword energy, it killed all the monsters. The golden Buddha's light swept across the field like a gentle breeze, purifying the whole land. In just a moment, the place that was like a bloody hell was restored to green and full of vitality. When the golden light dissipated, a figure in a golden-red kasaya appeared. The people hiding in the cracks of the rocks hurriedly rushed out. Master, fortunately you're here. Thank you for saving our lives, Master. When the people who rushed to the front saw his face clearly, their footsteps stopped, and their excited voices also gradually stopped. It was really the Master in front of them. He was a monk, but he was too young. Moreover, he had delicate features, red lips, and white teeth. When he saw so many people rushing over, he even took a step back shyly. No matter how one looked at him, he did not look like an enlightened monk. Instead, he looked like a handsome young man who came from a noble family and was ignorant of worldly affairs. The people looked at each other, wondering if they had seen wrongly. But there were no other monks around. After calming himself down, an old man walked out of the group and bowed deeply to the little monk. We are the clansmen of the Si Ching tribe. Today, we accidentally encountered the corpse puppet when we went out. Thanks to Master's help, we survived. May I ask the origin of Master's Buddha name? If there is a chance in the future, the Si Ching tribe will do our best to repay you. Back then, when the heavens collapsed, the sky pillars collapsed, and the nightmare ghosts wreaked havoc. Countless humans and spirit beasts on the ground were bitten by the poltergeist ghosts. They were poisoned by the poltergeist ghosts and there was no time to treat them. In the end, these beasts didn't die, but they turned into monsters similar to the poltergeist. This was a corpse puppet. They were not as strong as the poltergeist ghosts, and their intelligence was even lower than the weakest poltergeist ghosts. Their numbers were countless times that of the poltergeists. Moreover, these corpse puppets had some of the same characteristics as ghouls. Undying and indestructible, his entire body filled with poison. Unless a special method or divine power was used to incinerate it completely. Otherwise, even if it was blown to smithereens, it would regenerate after a period of time. If there weren't many corpse puppets, ordinary immortals would be able to deal with them easily. However, once the corpse puppets formed a group, they would become an incomparably terrifying existence. You've just gotten rid of more than half of the corpse puppets, and the corpse puppets that were killed before will resurrect. Life and death, endless and unending. It was like a nightmare, and there was no end to them. The people of the Fictional tribe were unlucky enough to encounter a large group of corpse puppets on this plane. More than half of the original group of more than 100 people were devoured by the corpse puppets. These dead people became the source of power for the corpse puppets. This also caused the number of corpse puppets to increase rapidly. Chapter 3996. In the end, they could only hide in the crevices of the rocks and guard the entrance with all their might to prolong their existence. But their immortal power would be exhausted and their spirits would collapse. At that time, they would have no choice but to become the food of the corpse puppet. Just when the people of the Fictional tribe were about to despair, the golden Buddhist light shrouded them and brought them a chance of survival. This made them feel infinitely grateful to the person in front of them, and they wished they could marry him to repay his kindness. The little monk put his palms together and was about to say, Amitabha. Suddenly, he thought of something and swallowed the words that were about to come out of his mouth. He said in a low voice, "It's nothing. Don't worry about it." The little monk thought with a slightly red face. He planned to confess to his master that his sin in the mortal world had not been severed and he wanted to return to secular life. Then he shouldn't use the name of Defying Temple anymore. And he shouldn't call himself a little monk anymore. He wanted to slowly get used to being an ordinary man again. The people of the Fictional tribe didn't dare to ask any more questions since they couldn't find out the little monk's origin. They just said their gratitude over and over again. A few young and pretty girls in the crowd looked at the little monk's handsome face, their faces filled with bashfulness. The little monk listened to their words of gratitude with a smile. Then he said in a warm voice, "If you really want to thank me, I want to ask you about the whereabouts of a person." He took out a picture scroll and slowly unfolded it. "This person is my second senior brother. I have been looking for him all these years. May I ask if you have seen him? Even if it's just some information about him, I will be very grateful if you can tell me." The people of the Fictional tribe stared at the lifelike picture scroll for a long time. Then they shook their heads one by one. Although he was already mentally prepared, the little monk still couldn't help but feel disappointed. Previously, he had sensed the fluctuation of the divine power of his second senior brother from a very far place. So he excitedly rushed to the southeast area to look for him. However, during this period of time, he had asked almost everyone in this area, but no one could give him any clues about his second senior brother. The little monk was about to put away the picture scroll. But he heard a little girl frowning and whispering, "This person seems a little familiar. I seem to have seen him somewhere." "Really?" The little monk's eyes lit up. The little girl said hesitantly, "I'm not sure if what I saw was the person in the painting, because the man had long hair and was dressed as a Taoist. Because of the existence of Defying Temple, Buddhism flourished while Taoism declined. Usually, once one joined Buddhism, it was impossible for them to switch to Taoism. Therefore, although the little girl found him familiar at first glance, she hesitated and did not say it out loud. Hearing this, Jing Yuan was stunned, but he still said excitedly, "It's all right. It doesn't matter even if I'm mistaken. When and where did you meet this person?" The little girl seemed to be recalling something, and a pained expression appeared on her face. "That was many years ago. My father was seriously injured and was about to die. I heard that there was an omnipotent immortal on Imo Mountain. I wanted to ask the immortal to save my father, so I kept climbing up." The little girl's cultivation level was very low. She was only at the 5th or 6th level of the Hollow Immortal stage. The Ink Mountain, in the netherworld, towered into the clouds and was covered with air barriers all year round, making it impossible to fly on a sword. It was obviously very painful and difficult for the little girl to climb up. "I don't know how long I've been climbing. My hands and feet hurt so much that I couldn't hold on any longer and fell down. But he just couldn't wake up. Even Han Chujo couldn't find out the reason. Elder Chang let out a long sigh and forced a smile. At least the Lord has returned safely. We can also be sure that Miss June is still alive. Han Yi also follows along with the relaxed atmosphere, since we already know that those 8 space barrier passages all lead to the Xuxian continent. That means that Miss June and the other 6 unfettered suns are on the Xuxian continent. As long as we are here, what do we need to worry about? With the strength of our polar domain, even turning the entire Xuxian continent upside down wouldn't be a problem. Are you afraid that you won't be able to find Miss June? Chapter 3998. Due to unknown reasons, Sogu is suddenly unable to find this site today. Elder Chang said with a frown, I don't know why, but the number of corpse puppets that had been almost completely wiped out within the polar domain has suddenly increased. It's fine for those at the mysterious immortal realm and above, but once those hollow immortals and golden immortals encounter groups of corpse puppets, it'll simply be a calamity. Now that His Majesty is unconscious and Miss June is missing, the Imperial Guards and you can't easily mobilize them. We can only watch helplessly as the corpse puppets wreak havoc and kill innocent people. Star Wolf gnashed his teeth and said, If Lord is awake, what do mere corpse puppets count as? Lord only needs to wave his sleeves and he can turn them into ashes. These words were not wrong at all. Ordinary immortals would have to use special methods and expend a great deal of effort to deal with these corpse hag. For an immortal emperor like Di Mingju, he only needs to casually use a ball of divine fire to completely burn him down, and there's no possibility of resurrection. Ingmei said coldly, if Miss June was here, she would definitely be able to wake June Shang up. But now, Di Mingju is in a long slumber. June Mayan's whereabouts are unknown. Everyone let out a long sigh. At this moment, a figure slowly walked in from outside the house. Seeing who it is, Han Yi, Ingmei, and Xing Lang all frown. Only Elder Chang welcomed him with his usual smile. Commander Tong, why have you come? Commander Tong's face darkened as he asked, what about Juanshang? Are you still unwilling to see me today? Elder Chang smiled and said, Zhongling must be joking. You are Jun Shang's wet nurse and have raised him up. Why would Jun Shang refuse to see you? It's just that Jun Shang is currently in closed-door cultivation, so it's naturally inconvenient for him to meet people. Commander Tong furrowed his brows. Ruler would always pass down orders before he went into seclusion. But now, the great battle with the Nether Realm and the demon race ended without a conclusion, and then Ruler disappeared for more than half a month. When he finally returned, he went into seclusion for no apparent reason. This is simply not in line with Jun Shang's character. Elder Chang, tell me honestly, did something happen to Jun Shang? Elder Chang's expression was the same as usual. With a puzzled expression, he said, Commander must be joking. How could I not know that something has happened to the Lord? His Lordship has only taken a good pill and had a breakthrough in his cultivation. That's why he went into seclusion. Isn't it normal that he didn't have time to issue the decree? Tong Zhongling's gaze swept across everyone present coldly, and he snorted coldly, I'm Jun Shang's wet nurse, and you all actually suspect me. None of them answered. Elder Chang smiled like a Maitreya Buddha. As for the other 3, they were completely unmoved by his words. Commander Tong was exasperated, his eyes blazing with fury. She suppressed her anger and sneered, since you don't trust me, then you won't trust the person I brought back. Since that's the case, I'll order people to directly throw that woman out of the polar domain. Elder Chang was stunned. What woman? Commander Tong's expression was indifferent as he said, I returned from the northern borders and saw a heavily injured woman near the Imperial City's barrier. I didn't have any interest in caring about her, but who knew that I would feel the fluctuations of Jun Shang's divine power from her body. I suspected that she might be a spy, so I went over to investigate. That woman's appearance was extremely outstanding, not the slightest bit inferior to Yu Yanran, one of the 4 unrivaled beauties of the past. It's just that the injuries on her body were extremely serious. When I helped her up, she was already on the verge of death. In the end, she only had time to say one sentence to me, tell Di Mingju that Mayan has come to find him, and then she fainted. Chapter 3999. Elder Chang and the others simultaneously suck in a mouthful of cold air. Ingmei even forgets herself and grabs her sleeve, is that true? Where is Miss June now? Commander Tong shakes off her hand, sneering, so that woman is the only one worthy of Jun Shang in your words, Jun Mayan? I think she's just a so-so. I don't know how she managed to injure herself so badly that she couldn't even break a mere Imperial City's outer boundary. Breaking the Imperial City's outer boundary will alert the Polar Domain's Imperial Guards. Thus, even without Commander Tong's help, the news will still spread. Less nonsense. Ingmei angrily says, quickly tell me where Miss June is. If Miss June's treatment is delayed, believe it or not, the first thing Jun Shang will do when he wakes up will be to dismember your body into 10,000 pieces. Commander Tong's complexion turns green and white. Ever since she expressed her dissatisfaction with Jun Mayan's mortal identity, and vainly tried to make another woman the mistress of the Polar Domain. Han Yi and the others' attitude towards her became worse and worse. As Di Mingju's wet nurse, her status in the Polar Domain should be aloof and respected. But now, just a few insignificant juniors dare to yell at her, scowling and glaring at her. Commander Tong takes a deep breath. At this very moment, she increasingly feels that her decision back then was correct. She says with a cold face, you guys come with me. Elder Chang and the others quickly follow, unable to hide the worry and happiness on their faces. Happy that they've finally found Miss June, worried that Miss June's injuries are so serious that they have to let the King of Medicine quickly come and treat her. After half an hour, a scowling Han Chujiu is summoned from the Medicine King Hall. Seeing the several people who are anxiously waiting for him, Han Chujiu grits her teeth and says, what do you think Laozi is? An ordinary doctor. You want me to save a random Tom, Dick, and Harry? Do Laozi owe you guys? Elder Chang coughs lightly, Xiaozhou, if it weren't for the utmost urgency, I wouldn't have asked you to save her. Can you go and see the person first? Han Chujiu walks to the bed with a cold face. Seeing the woman lying on the bed, she raises her eyebrows. This woman's appearance is really outstanding. But she doesn't know if it's because she's asleep, but she always gives people a sense of unreality. Who is this? Elder Chang asked. This is Miss June. Miss June. Which Miss June? Han Chujiu froze for a moment, then she thought of something. Her face became extremely ugly. This is Di Mingju's little lover outside. Damn it, I will poison her to death right now. How dare you snatch my precious disciple's man? As he spoke, a ball of flame had already condensed in his palm, and he was about to smash it towards the person on the bed. Wait. Absolutely not. Chang Lao was almost scared out of his wits. He rushed over and held Han Chujia's hand, then said, Little Joe, don't mess around. Miss June is the future mistress of the Polar Domain, no one can neglect her. If you hurt her, Jun Shang will never let you off when he wakes up. Han Chujia's face turned red in anger. You said she is the future mistress of the Polar Domain. Then what about my disciple? At that time, Di Mingju personally said that he would marry my disciple. Although he doesn't want his precious disciple to be driven away by Dimingju, that philandering big peacock. But his unwillingness and Dimingju deceiving his disciple, is this the same thing? Elder Chang's face shows a helpless expression. Xiao Zhou, don't you think Miss June looks familiar? Chapter 4000. Han Chuzhou looked at the woman on the bed. The disgust in his eyes were overflowing. I don't think so. Elder Chang was taken aback. This shouldn't be. Even though Jun Shang didn't say it clearly, but the fact that Miss June is little Zhou's disciple is already set in stone. Only little Nine was kept in the dark. But how come little Nine doesn't seem to recognize Miss June? Han Yi suddenly thinks of something. In Tianguang ruins, Miss June used Yiliang Chen's identity and appearance. Because the Heavenly Light ruins was under the jurisdiction of the Nether Realm. Therefore, Han Yi and the others rarely enter the Tianguang ruins. But Star Wolf still followed little Mo Ju in. Han Yi and the others also know that Mayan had altered her appearance in Tianguang ruins, so Yiliang Chen's appearance is different from Mayan's. Chang Lao was worried about Mu Yan's injury, so he quickly pulled Han Chuzhou and explained that Mu Yan is his precious disciple. I thought he would be ecstatic. Who knows? After Han Chuzhou looked at the woman on the bed for a long time, she frowned her eyebrows and said, Brother, don't lie to me. How can I not recognize my baby disciple? He sneered, I know, you were afraid that I wouldn't be willing to save this vixen who seduced Di Mingju, so you ganged up to deceive me, saying that she's my precious disciple. Bah! Your father won't fall for it. That son of a bitch Di Mingju has a foot on 2 boats, Laozi still hasn't settled it with him. You want me to save his little lover? Not a chance. After saying that, his figure flashed and disappeared on the spot. Hey, little Nine, wait. Elder Chang stretched out his hand to grab at thin air and tugged at his hair in frustration. Little Nine refused to believe their words, and refused to save anyone. What should they do now? Commander Tong snickered by the side and said, the polar domain's most precious medicinal pill has already been fed to her. What else can she do? Let's see if she can pull through. If she can't make it, then that's her fate. You! Star Wolf was so angry that he wanted to beat someone up. But at this moment, the woman on the bed suddenly let out a painful moan. Miss June. Miss June, what do you think? Elder Chang and the rest no longer cared about Commander Tong and hurriedly pounced over to check on the woman's condition. The person on the bed seemed to be dreaming of something terrible. His eyebrows were tightly knitted, and beads of sweat rolled down his forehead. Her face alternated between pale and red. It was obvious that he was in extreme pain. Just as Chang Lao was about to rush over to Han Chuzhou, the woman on the bed suddenly jumped up and shouted, Di Mingju, don't leave me. Miss June, you're awake. How do you feel? Do you need to take another pill? The woman held her head with one hand and revealed a pained expression. A pair of beautiful peach blossom eyes slowly swept across Elder Chang and the rest. A perplexed look appeared on his face. Who are you guys? Elder Chang was shocked. Miss June, what are you talking about? Don't you remember us? The woman's expression became more and more confused. She seemed to be trying very hard to remember. Suddenly, he hugged his head. Ah, my head hurts. Who am I? Where am I? And who are you? Di Mingju, that's right, Di Mingju. I'm looking for Di Mingju. What the hell is going on? How come Miss June doesn't even recognize us? She doesn't seem to remember who she is. Could it be that the injury was too heavy and she lost her memory? Chapter 4001. Outside the room, Elder Chang and the others are discussing worriedly. What should we do now? Why don't I ask Xiao Zhou to come and treat her? Ahem, I think that now that Miss June has lost her memory, the two sides can't verify it. I'm afraid that the King of Medicine will not treat Miss June. Everyone looks at each other, and they can't help but sigh. Miss June, who they thought had disappeared for a long time, was finally found. With her medical skills, she might be able to save June Shang. But who knows, when it rains, it pours. Miss June unexpectedly lost her memory. Han Chujiu is also angry and refuses to treat her. Elder Chang massages his temples with a headache, sends someone to invite Dr. Lu over. Dr. Lu's original name is Lu Ren, a high-ranking doctor supported by the Imperial Court of Gu. Han Chujiu is also skilled in medicine. But he's better at refining medicine. So in terms of medical skills, Lu Ren is not worse than Han Chujiu. It's just that Mayan's identity is special. Elder Chang doesn't want other people to see Mayan before Di Mingju wakes up. But he can't care about it now. Han Yi hesitates. Miss June doesn't remember who she is, but she always calls June Shang's name, as if she remembers June Shang. If we take her to see June Shang, maybe she can remember something. Elder Chang's eyes brighten. That's a good idea. With Miss June by his side, June Shang may wake up. I'll take Miss June. Wait a minute. The speaker is Ying Mei. She frowns slightly, seemingly thinking about something. Han Yi asks with concern, Little Shadow, what's wrong? Are you worried about Miss June? Ying Mei reins back her thoughts and lightly says, nothing. It's just that Miss June is seriously injured and has lost her memory. Rashly taking her to see June Shang may worsen her condition. I think it's better to wait for Dr. Lu to come and see her first. In the end, Elder Chang listens to Ying Mei's opinion and doesn't take anyone to see Di Mingju. After seeing the patient, Dr. Lu determined that her soul is damaged and she has experienced a major shock, so her memory is in chaos. She only remembers Di Mingju, but she doesn't remember Elder Chang and her own identity. This is a sign of memory disorder. This kind of situation might not recover for 30 to 50 years, but it might also be remembered after a few months. The woman lying on the bed was pale and her eyes were dim. She looked at them with guilt and unease. I'm sorry, did I cause you trouble? But I really can't remember anything. Old man Chang quickly said, Miss June, you mustn't say that. You are June Shang's fiancée, my polar domain's future mistress. It is our duty to serve you. June Shang, is it Di Mingju? The woman slightly frowns, revealing a pained and perplexed expression. I can't remember anything. But this name kept appearing in his mind. I know he must be a very important person to me. Di Mingju is June Shang's taboo name. In a flash, a brilliant smile blooms on the woman's face, making her originally beautiful facial features become as bright and beautiful as 100 flowers in spring. So, I'm Di Mingju's fiancé. Can I see him? A look of hesitation appeared on Elder Chang's face. Can't I? The smile on the woman's face dimmed. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have made such an excessive request. No, how could that be? Elder Chang promptly said, you are June Shang's fiancé, it's natural for you to want to see June Shang. How could it be excessive? It's just that June Shang is in seclusion. Ying Mei interrupted Elder Chang's words, saying in a calm tone, Miss June, you should wait for June Shang to come out of seclusion before you see him. Han Yi also smiled, that's right, Miss June. You should recuperate first, otherwise June Shang would be sad to see you like this. Chapter 4002. No, how could that be? Elder Chang quickly says, "You're Jun Shang's fiancé. It's natural for you to want to see Jun Shang. How could it be too much?" It's just that Jun Shang is in seclusion. Ingmei interrupts Elder Chang and says in a calm tone, "Miss Jun, you should wait for Jun Shang to come out before you see him." Han Yi also smiles, "Yes, Miss Jun, you should recuperate first, otherwise Jun Shang will be sad to see you like this." The woman on the bed shows a bashful smile, then as if the medicine has taken effect, she falls into a deep sleep. They go out the door. Han Yi says doubtfully, "Little Shadow, you're a bit strange today." "Strange about what?" "You didn't treat Miss Jun like this before." Ingmei's intimacy towards Mu Yen can be seen by anyone with eyes. It's even more intimate than Di Mingju, making Han Yi unable to help but feel jealous. But today, Han Yi feels that Ingmei's attitude towards Miss Jun is a bit cold. Ingmei opens her mouth, wanting to say something, but in the end, she only says faintly, "I treat Miss Jun better, you're jealous. Now that I treat her coldly, you say I'm strange." "Han Yi, I think you're itching for a beating." Han Yi sees Ingmei slowly clenching her fists, shivers, and turns to run. Everyone can't help but laugh out loud. So no one sees Ingmei's slightly drooping eyes. She doesn't know why, but she can't get close to this Miss Jun in front of her. It's obviously the same face, but she feels that something's wrong. Shushin Continent, under the hidden abyss. Damn, it seems that today's fruitless again. Night Spirit smashes the Chinkuan bag in her hand on a rock, and raises her hand to wipe the bloodstains on her face. She's really unlucky. With great difficulty, the barrier loosens, and she can come to the Demon Cloud Ridge to look for food. Who knew that she would run into a group of corpse puppets? The people of the demon race, even the lowest level demon soldier. They don't fear corpse puppets. Because compared to ghosts, the toxicity of corpse puppets is too weak. It simply can't penetrate the thick and filthy skin of the demon race. But that's when there are only 3 or 5 corpse puppets. Once the number of corpse puppets increases, the low-level demon soldiers and demon guards will be infected with more and more corpse poison. The infection of Pi poison was extremely strong. When the poison seeped into their skin and contaminated their monster cores, they would die without a complete corpse. Night Spirit was only a rank 5 demon weapon. She was lucky to be able to kill those 10 corpse puppets without being infected by the venom. However, the devil chi in her body had been completely depleted. Not to mention going to the Demon Cloud Ridge to look for food, he didn't even dare to go back. Any magical beast in this mountain range could kill her with a single slap. Night Spirit rummaged through the cosmic bag and ultimately only found a piece of rotten and smelly magical beast meat. If she ate this kind of trash, her magic core would be contaminated with even more impurities, making it harder for her to cultivate in the future. The most important thing was that the smelly magical beast meat was really unpalatable. Frowning, Night Spirit forced himself to pinch his nose and take a bite. Ugh! A disgusting sour smell, accompanied by the pungent smell of blood, filled all of her senses. Wait a minute. Night Spirit suddenly realized that something was amiss. Corpse puppets were lifeless walking corpses. Every inch of skin and every piece of flesh on their bodies was rotten and smelly. She hadn't even killed a single magical beast yet, so why would she smell blood? Chapter 4003. She hadn't even killed a single demonic beast yet, so why would she smell blood? The key was that the smell of blood was way too fresh and sweet. It stimulated the demon core in her body to spin rapidly and a strong desire to eat surged in her heart. Night Spirit quickly kept the smelly meat and followed the smell of blood. Before long, she saw a person covered in blood in a crack in the rocks. Was this a human or a corpse? Night's spirit fell into deep thought as she looked at the woman whose chest was flat and her clothes were completely soaked in blood. She was said to be alive, but there was no fiendish chi at all. Even though she was dead, that beautiful face of hers was still rosy and fair. She was so beautiful that even a demoness like Night's spirit could not help but want to swallow her saliva. The aesthetics of demons were usually different from spirit cultivators. They revered strength and strength more, while women preferred the enchanting and charming snow girl, a stunner with all kinds of amorous feelings. The so-called peerless beauties that spirit cultivators talked about. To demons, they were all boring and pretentious little cabbages that were fake and pure. It was disgusting to look at them. They were not as interesting as demons who respected their own desires. But even so, Night's spirit could not help but admit that the woman before her was very beautiful. Be it the aesthetics of humans or demons, she was so beautiful that she forgot to breathe for a moment. However, the shock only lasted for a moment as Night's spirit snapped back to her senses. What was the use of being pretty? Could being pretty be used as food? Soft skin and tender flesh could be used as food. Night's spirit's eyes shone with greed and desire as she stuck out her tongue and licked her lips. She had been hungry for a long time. She did not know how this human girl fell into the abyss. However, since she fell in front of her, she was her food. If she was dismembered and divided into more than 10 pieces, she would be able to eat for half a month. Night's spirit's eyes shone with a green glint as she raised her hands. With a crack, 10 sharp black nails pierced out. Low-level demonic soldiers and guards were usually unarmed. But to the devil race, their strong bodies were the best weapons. Her black nails slowly extended towards the girl's fair and slender neck and sliced gently. She could feel her flesh being sliced open. Night's spirit was extremely excited and even trembled in excitement. However, before she could cut off the girl's head and drink a few mouthfuls of fresh blood, he felt a burning sensation on his fingertips. "Aw!" Shrill screams echoed throughout the valley. Clutching his wrist, Night's spirit rolled on the ground and wailed. The hand that had grown sharp nails and was about to take someone's life had already disappeared. Or rather, he was melted alive. Night's spirit was a demonic creature born from the heavens. It was born in an ancient battlefield filled with vengeful spirits, filth, blood, and cruelty. To be able to grow from the lowest level of demonic creatures without intelligence to a demonic soldier that could take human form and fight, the pain and suffering they had gone through was unimaginable for ordinary spirit cultivators. Even so, Night's spirit could not take it anymore. At this moment, the pain she was suffering was 100 times more intense than the most unbearable pain she had ever experienced. It wasn't just her hands that were melting. Even her magic core seemed to have melted a little, forming a gap. Her cultivation dropped from rank 5 MO weapon to rank 3. The other type was naturally nurtured by the heavens, and was born from the evolution of some filthy demonic creatures. The other was the human spirit cultivators. Due to various reasons, they changed to the demonic path. This group of people were known as the Abyssal Clan. Some of the fallen devils were extremely powerful and sought after. However, there were also those who simply wanted to be unrestrained and do evil without restraint. These fallen evils were at the bottom of the hierarchy even among low-level demons, and were the most despised. The girl ignored her question and continued to ask in a slightly hoarse voice, "How can I leave the hidden abyss?" "Ha! Didn't you hear a single word I said just now? As long as ordinary spirit cultivators fall into the hidden abyss, it's their misfortune. They can forget about getting out for the rest of their lives." Chapter 4005. Even if you're a fallen evil, you won't be able to get out unless you cultivate your magic core to the level of a demon lord. But I've never heard of a fallen evil who could cultivate their magic core to the level of a demon lord. Strictly speaking, the devil race didn't have a cultivation rank. Magic cores were divided into levels: demon soldier, demon guard, demon lord, demon general, demon venerable, and demon emperor. But the level of a magic core did not represent the full strength of a demon. Especially among the low-level demons. Demon soldiers defeating demon guards, and demon guards defeating demon lords. This happened frequently in the hidden abyss. The level of a magic core indicated how much demonic energy they could contain, as well as their body's self-healing ability. The girl frowned slightly. How do I know the level of my magic core? Night Spirit was stunned for a moment, then couldn't help but exclaim, "Damn, you really have a magic core in your body? Are you really a fallen evil?" Why had Night Spirit never thought that the girl in front of her could be a heaven-raised demon? That was because low-level demons such as demon soldiers and demon guards could also transform into human forms, but they would always look different from real humans. For example, Night Spirit herself had two strange black lines at the corners of her eyes that slanted to her temples. It made her already ugly look even more hideous and strange. Her nails were naturally black, and her skin was rough. It felt bumpy to the touch as if it was covered with scales. If she were in a human's eyes, she would be recognized even without divine senses. But what about the girl in front of her? Her skin was as white as snow. Her face was 100 times prettier than the girl in the drawing that fell from the hidden abyss. If she was a heaven-raised demon with such a perfect face, how high would her magic core be? The young girl turned a deaf ear to her fuss and repeated her question. How do I test the magic cores? Night Spirit originally wanted to mock the fallen evil's unpopularity in the hidden abyss. But when he met those pitch-black, cold eyes, his body instinctively stiffened. She didn't want to answer obediently, so she blurted out, "There's a magic core testing area in every main city. You only need to pay 10 mabe to get tested." The girl frowned and was about to speak. Suddenly, a strange sound of high and low voices came from afar. Night Spirit's expression changed when he heard that voice. He straightened his body. How could this be? I actually met 2 groups of corpse puppets today. I can't be that unlucky, right? Her cultivation had dropped drastically and there wasn't a single bit of demonic chi left in her body. However, misfortunes never come singly in this world. Night Spirit's vision darkened as he looked at the corpse puppets that were surging over from all directions. The group she encountered just now had 10 of them. Now, there were more than 100 of them densely packed together, and they were scattered all over the place. It's over. It's over. I'm really dead this time. Night Spirit exclaimed with a pale face. At the same time, he could not help but glance at the girl beside him. Speaking of which, you're really unlucky. I don't see any devil chi fluctuations on you, so you must have become a fallen evil recently, right? It's a pity that no matter how many grievances and resentments you had in your life, you can only die with me in the Demon Cloud Ridge today. The girl's gaze swept over the roaring monster that was approaching. Chapter 4006. Due to unknown reasons, this site is suddenly unavailable on Sogu today. Fellow readers, please remember this site's domain name, Book Ocean Pavilion, and find your way home. Are you serious? You don't even recognize corpse puppets? I say, which remote corner did a human like you crawl out from? Night Spirit looked at her as though she was looking at an idiot. If they were ghosts, they wouldn't be so slow. We wouldn't even have time to speak and would have been torn into pieces. As she complained, she raised her hands and her sharp black nails shot out. Her dark green eyes shone with a bloodthirsty and battle-thirsty glint. Although they knew that they would die, the demon race revered bravery and bravery. Whoever retreated was a bastard. Night Spirit let out a strange cry and charged towards the two corpse puppets at the front. Her black nails streaked through the air and a pungent stench shot out along with rotten flesh. Night Spirit grabbed the head of one of the corpse puppets and yanked it down. Roar! However, her shoulder was bitten viciously the next moment. Bastard! It hurts. Night Spirit threw away the head in her hand and clawed at the corpse puppets behind her. She retreated rapidly. However, there was too little demonic chi in her body and it was almost dried up. Her claw only forced the corpse puppets back 2 steps before they were surrounded again. Night Spirit knew very well. The scariest thing about these corpse puppets was not that they had no sense of pain or fear. It was that they could not be truly killed. Night Spirit had just said that she had dealt with 10 corpse puppets, but she knew very well. Those disgusting things would be reborn in another corner of the Demon Cloud Ridge very soon. As for the group of corpse puppets in front of her, if only 10 or 20 of them were killed, the corpse puppets would soon come back to life. Night Spirit's eyes were filled with despair as she looked at the approaching disgusting monsters. It's over. It seemed like she was going to die in the Demon Cloud Ridge today. Damn it, she couldn't even eat a mouthful of fresh meat before she died. How indignant. When the bloody mouth approached, Night Spirit, whose body was completely drained of demonic chi, did not dodge. She gritted her teeth and stood on the spot, straightening her back. Just as those teeth were about to bite her head, she saw a dazzling sword beam. Pfft! There seemed to be a soft sound beside his ear. Thereafter, the heads of the corpse puppets that were surrounding Night Spirit and trying to devour her rolled off their necks one after another. It even spun a few times around Night Spirit's feet. Night Spirit slowly turned its head stiffly. What entered his sight was a young girl dressed in blood-red clothes, holding a sword as she slowly walked forward. The sword in her hand was so strange. It was sparkling and translucent, almost invisible if one didn't look carefully. Was it this strange sword that chopped off the corpse puppet's head and saved her life? Night Spirit opened his mouth and only found his voice after a long while. You won't be able to kill these corpse puppets just by chopping off their heads. You must burn them with fiendish chi. Indeed, it was as Night Spirit had said. The headless corpse puppets did not collapse, but continued to sway forward. There seemed to be an invisible energy connected to the severed neck that emitted a nauseating stench. As his body moved forward, his head flew up from the ground and returned to his neck. The corpse puppet's movements became even faster. Night Spirit said anxiously, forget it. Don't bother about me. Hurry and leave. I can see that you're rather agile and should be able to escape alone. Chapter 4007. The girl's eyes were fixed on the corpse puppet. Her eyebrows furrowed slightly, her eyes flashing with contemplation. Night Spirit felt something brush past his body. This was divine sense. She was using her divine sense to probe the corpse puppet? What the hell, was this fallen evil sick? Instead of making the best use of his time to escape, he was actually using his divine sense to probe the corpse puppet? Was there anyone in the world who didn't know what corpse puppets were like? What was the use of probing them? Could he skin them alive and pull out their tendons? I see. Night Spirit was madly ridiculing in his heart when he heard the girl's slightly hoarse voice. As long as it comes into contact with any kind of energy in the air, the poison will split and regenerate infinitely. Just like the pie poison that Little Nine's master told me about. So, there are only 2 ways to really get rid of it. 1. Before it splits, use overwhelming power to completely engulf the pie poison and the energy in their bodies. This is what Han Yi said, that they can't completely kill it, but Di Mingju can do it. Because only Di Mingju can use divine power. Or, make a kind of poison that splits faster than the pie poison and is more sensitive to energy. Let the pie poison be unable to swallow, unable to split, and unable to live. Night Spirit was quite dumbfounded. What was this woman mumbling about? She could clearly understand every word, but why couldn't she understand what they meant when they were put together? TSK. No wonder everyone said that humans were hypocritical and eccentric. But she had just saved him. Night Spirit couldn't help shouting again, "Fallen evil, what are you standing there for? Why aren't you running? Do you think you're those bald donkeys from Debi Temple, murmuring to kill the corpse puppets?" It was unknown which of his words had poked the girl's lung tube. Her beautiful face, which was already cold, suddenly turned cold. The chilling aura emanating from his body caused Night Spirit to shudder. Even those corpse puppets seemed to be frozen, their steps slowed for a moment. Night Spirit stammered, Did I say something wrong? The people of Debi Temple are bald donkeys. The girl's dark eyes were deep and bottomless. Her pink lips moved slightly, and a voice that was even more coarse but mixed with killing intent came out. Yes. It's a damn bald donkey. She took another deep breath and said in a low voice. I can't take the zither out, so I can't use the golden silkworm to fight poison with poison. Then I can only use divine power. This is my first time using it. I hope I won't lose control. Night Spirit opened its mouth, wanting to say something. The sword light flashed again. One sword flattened mountains and seas. One sword shook the 9 provinces. In his days, Night Spirit could not even remember what happened next. She only knew that when she regained consciousness and could close her gaping mouth, the corpse puppets, that couldn't be killed no matter what had happened, had completely disappeared. Not even a speck of bone ash was left. Oh no, there's still one left. The only remaining seedling was currently roaring and pouncing towards the girl. However, not only did his ferocious appearance not inspire fear, it even made him seem a bit pitiful. Then, Night Spirit saw it being pierced through by a transparent long sword. A ball of silver flames rose from the tip of the sword and spread to the entire body of the corpse puppet. Then, there was no then. The last corpse puppet also disappeared without a trace. Chapter 4008. Night Spirit did not know if those corpse puppets that were burned to death would be reborn somewhere else. Logically speaking, those below the demon general level could not use divine power and could not really kill corpse puppets. But for some reason, Night Spirit had a feeling that those corpse puppets were really dead, the kind that could not come back to life. The white-clothed, blood-stained girl held her sword in a reverse grip and slowly withdrew it. Her beautiful face was as cold as ice. There was no fear, no smugness, no bragging. It was as if killing so many corpse puppets was a piece of cake. That was more than 100 corpse puppets. Night Spirit felt that her brain was about to be filled with fuck. She opened her mouth and was about to speak. But the girl's body suddenly swayed and she fell. Be careful. Without even thinking, Night Spirit pounced over and caught her. Are you alright? Did you get bitten by the corpse puppets? That can't be. This valiant master had just killed a corpse puppet with a single slash of his sword, as if he was chopping melons and vegetables. The corpse puppets could not even get close to her, so she couldn't have been bitten. The girl waved her hand and took out a bottle of elixir. Then she said indifferently, I just overused my divine power. I'm fine. What divine power? You're wrong. It's magic power, right? Is divine power something that small fries like us can use? The number of people who can use divine power in the entire hidden abyss can be counted on one hand. Night Spirit complained while glancing at her, her face full of jealousy. You spirit cultivators are so generous. Even a fallen evil has a storage device. Is it the ring on your hand or that bracelet? TSK. It was a pity that she still had to use this big Chinkuan bag that could not hold many things. The girl gently touched the cracked ring in her hand and frowned slightly. Her watery eyes were tinged with some worry. Night Spirit did not know what he had poked into her heart again. But now she did not dare to treat the little girl as an ordinary fallen evil. How could a fallen evil kill more than 100 corpse puppets without blinking an eye? The girl suddenly asked, "Where's the nearest main city? How do I get there?" Night Spirit hurriedly said, "The nearest must be Bloody Flame City. I live there. The main city's barrier will open in 4 hours. I'll take you there. Take it as repayment for saving my life." The girl nodded and said, "Thank you." Night Spirit hesitated for a moment before he could not help but ask, "I'm Night Spirit. What about you? What's your name? Don't misunderstand me. I'm not trying to find out who you were before you fell to the fallen evil. It's just that I can't keep calling you, hey, or fallen evil, right?" The girl met Night Spirit's gaze in silence. Her peach blossom eyes were clear and bright, and the corners of her eyes were slightly raised, as if they contained 1,000 kinds of amorous feelings. But when it landed on the young girl's face, it only gave off a chilling murderous aura. Night Spirit shrunk its neck and thought to itself, "Fine, I won't say anything then. Could you not look at me with such a horrifying gaze?" It was quite scary. However, at the next moment, she heard the hoarse voice of the girl, "My name is Yap Liang Chin. Polar Domain, High Sky Hole." The night was dark and windy. A figure silently entered through the half-open window and walked towards the woman sleeping peacefully on the bed. Swoosh! Suddenly, an oil lamp at the head of the bed lit up like a human hand. It reflected the old man's face. Chapter 4009. Commander Tong. The person who has come is actually Commander Tong. Right now, she's lowering her head to look at the woman on the bed, her eyes carrying a touch of coldness and contempt. The corners of her mouth slowly curve up, as if mocking, but also laughing carefreely. Her slightly rough voice rings out in the quiet night, "You Yen Ran, don't pretend to be asleep, I know you're awake." The long eyelashes of the woman on the bed slightly tremble, but she doesn't open them. A harsh light flashes in Commander Tong's eyes, and a blade of air is already swung out. "You!" The woman on the bed snaps open her eyes and jumps up, narrowly avoiding the blade of air. She looks at her sleeve that's been cut, anger flashing through her beautiful peach blossom eyes. "Commander Tong, what are you doing?" Commander Tong sneers, "You Yen Ran, are you playing with me in burning the bridge after crossing the river? I'm talking to you, and you dare to pretend not to hear and ignore me. Believe it or not, I can expose you right now and let you die without a burial ground." The woman's face contorts. The originally peerless countenance that can topple cities shows a bit of malevolence at this moment. But thinking that the plan hasn't succeeded, she still swallows back the breath that's stuck in her chest. Her face shows a fawning smile. "Commander Tong, you also know that we're walking on a thin thread right now. A little carelessness and we'll die a horrible death. Of course I have to be careful. Since entering the polar domain, I've thought of myself as the amnesiac Jun Mayan. Commander Tong, you also know how cunning and sensitive those people around Dijun are. A little bit of carelessness and we might reveal a flaw. I didn't answer you just now because I was afraid that there would be people watching around. Commander Tong snorts coldly, accepting her explanation. But he says with disdain, rest assured, those people are very respectful towards this lowly mortal Jun Mayan. Without Jun Shang's order, they absolutely wouldn't dare to watch at will. At most, they would quietly protect the periphery. When I came here, I avoided being seen and heard, and I've already released my divine sense to ensure that there won't be anyone spying on us. Don't be so paranoid. You want to become the mistress of the polar domain with just this bit of courage. Hee hee. Yu Yanran was filled with hatred, but she did not dare to offend Commander Tong. She has no choice but to speak kindly. Without Aunt Tong's help, I would have already died in the hands of Han Yi and the other dog servants. How could I have the opportunity to use the magnificent quicksand, and even replace Mayan in marrying Di Jun? Aunt Tong, your great kindness to me, Yanran will never forget it. If there's a chance in the future, I'll definitely repay you 100-fold. Only then did Commander Tong reveal a satisfied expression. Yu Yanran said carefully, it's just that Aunt Tong also knows that what we are doing must not be discovered by others. If we are the slightest bit careless, I will naturally be consigned to eternal damnation. However, Aunt Tong, who was in charge of executing me, will also be implicated. Commander Tong's expression turned cold. You dare threaten me? Of course this is not a threat. Yu Yanran smiled lightly. It is a reminder. Aunt Tong, you must remember that in this world, there is no longer Yu Yanran. There is only Di Jun's fiancée, the future mistress of the polar domain, Jun Mayan, which is also me. Commander Tong sneers, aren't you afraid that the real Jun Mayan will appear and expose your true colors? Chapter 40:10. What's more, once I get Di Jun's favor, I'll have power in my hands. As soon as that slut appears, I'll have her killed. A puny golden immortal who ascended from the lower realms, without strength or background, killing her would be as simple as killing an ant. Commander Tong looks at the cruel and treacherous smile on her beautiful face, and a chill rises up his back for no reason. There's actually a faint trace of regret in his heart. Is it really good to keep such a person by Jun Shang's side and let her become the mistress of the polar domain? But when he thinks of Han Yi and the others' neglect towards him, and the power that's gradually being taken away from his hands, Commander Tong can't help but feel unreconciled. She wants to stand in a higher position, she wants to be closer to Jun Shang than Elder Chang and Han Yi. She wants everyone in the polar domain to revere and fear her. This is the position that she should have. And now, all she can rely on is this woman in front of her. Commander Tong says with a cold face, I came here tonight to remind you that Jun Shang wasn't in the polar domain for some time. After he came back, he went into seclusion and didn't come out. If I'm not wrong, Jun Shang should have been seriously injured. That hateful Chang'ing actually stopped me from visiting Jun Shang. Now, you're the only one who can see Jun Shang in broad daylight. Hearing that, Yu Yanran is delighted. Di Mingju was injured. That's really great. People are the most vulnerable when they're injured, and they need care the most. At the same time, their senses are the dullest, and they're unable to think carefully. In this way, the possibility of her being discovered as an imposter is even lower. And during this time, she only needs to take good care of Di Mingju, and have skin contact with him. What harm would there be in being discovered again in the future? Yu Yanran presses down the joy in her heart and nods, rest assured, I'll definitely find a way to see Di Jun hee. They can stop everyone in the world, but can they stop me, Di Jun's fiancé? It's just, Commander Tong, you should pay more attention to your conduct in the future. Right now, I'm not Yu Yanran, but Jun Mayan. Commander Tong must remember this. Commander Tong's complexion is extremely unsightly. With a cold snort, he turns and leaves. Yu Yanran looks at his departing figure, and the corners of her lips curl up in ridicule. Then, a brilliant light blossomed in his eyes as he slowly clenched his fists. The island of Linglong was destroyed, and his trusted subordinates either died or betrayed him. The pain of consuming the magnificent quicksand made her wish that she was dead. But she made it through. Now she had nothing. Even his face was no longer his own. Therefore, she could not lose. She, Yu Yanran, must obtain the monarch's heart and become the mistress of the polar domain. Under the hidden abyss, Blood Flame City. Yi Liangchen, what are you doing? The barrier is finally open. Quick, follow me. Hearing the shouts of the female demon soldier, Mu Yan retracted her gaze from the crimson sky and slowly walked up. She never expected that when she opened her eyes, she would actually be in the Shushan continent. Moreover, it wasn't in the polar domain, nor was it in the nether domain. Instead, it was in the hidden abyss where the demon race resided. Mu Yan doesn't dare to recall what happened on the floating island in the end. No matter how many times she thought about it, she would feel so much pain that she couldn't breathe whenever she thought about how her little Uncle Master had severed his own meridians and slowly collapsed in front of her. There's also the hatred of her own powerlessness and weakness. They, the Xiaoyao 7, always thought that they were very strong, but in reality, they couldn't save anyone. Mu Yan's memory of what happened afterwards becomes fuzzy. It's like she's caught in an endless nightmare. Chapter 4011. Mu Yan seems to have fallen into an endless nightmare. Her soul has been reincarnated again and again in the misery of her previous life, desperately trying to break free, but to no avail. Then, she sees Di Mingju. She hears the man say to her, "Yen Yen, how could I leave you behind? How could I leave you behind in the first place?" The voice is mournful and desperate, painful and hopeful. Hearing it, Mu Yan's heart aches. What happened after that? What happened? How could she appear in the hidden abyss of the demons? Where is Di Mingju? There are some vague images in her mind, but she can't remember them very clearly. She gently caresses the void spirit ring that has already cracked and can no longer be hidden. Mu Yan lowers her head and gently touches the ring with her lips. Di Mingju, you saved me, right? Wait for me, I will go to the polar domain to find you. Here, that's the place to test the magic cores. By the way, do you have Tenmabe? Mu Yan blinks and looks at the demon woman opposite her. Night Spirit let out a tragic cry. No way. You don't have Mabe, do you want me to help you? How could I have Tenmabe? If she had Tenmabe, she would have gone to buy food long ago. Would she still need to risk her life in the Demon Cloud Ridge? Mu Yan frowns. Is there a shop here that accepts elixirs? You mean the elixirs of spirit cultivators? Night Spirit curls his lips. We demons can't absorb that kind of thing. Even if you sell it, no one will buy it, unless you can sell it to a main city of 3 stars or above. There are demon lords who go in and out of the hidden abyss to do business with humans, and perhaps there are people who are willing to accept elixirs of spirit cultivators. Our Blood Flame City only accepts devil elixirs. The main cities of the demon race are also divided into levels, ranging from 1 star to 5 stars. Blood Flame City is the lowest level of 1-star city. And there is only one 5-star city, and that is the Demon Imperial City where the Demon Lord Jun Shirtian resides. Mu Yan is also at a loss at this time. Spirit cultivators don't accept anything. Not even magic treasures. Night Spirit spreads his hands. I'm telling you, low-level demons can't use anything from you spirit cultivators. This is troublesome. Night Spirit suddenly said, perhaps there's another way. In the square in the center of the city, there will be people giving out missions. Since you're so powerful, you can go and accept missions to earn mabe. But... She paused and was about to explain how much the devils in Bloody Flame City discriminated against fallen evils, so she should not go to the center of the city to ask for trouble. But Mu Yan doesn't wait for her to finish, she already turns around and says, I'll try. Fuck. Why didn't you let me finish? Really, don't you humans love to beat around the bush and beat around the bush 3 times? How could a fallen evil like you be more decisive than a natural-born monster like me? Night Spirit hurriedly caught up with Mu Yan, thinking of a way to conceal her appearance as a fallen evil. However, he suddenly realized that everyone in the plaza was crowding around a magic crystal platform in the middle, and they were talking noisily about something. For a time, not to mention her fallen evil friends, there was not even a single one who posted or accepted a mission. Everyone's attention was drawn to the magic crystal platform. Quiet. Quiet. All of you, quiet down. The city lord has important news to announce. There is a short man standing on the magic crystal platform. He held 2 gigantic hammers in his hands and swung them in the air, causing a loud thud. The people who were initially noisy were shocked and immediately quietened down. Chapter 40:12. Seeing that the surroundings had quietened down, the short man put away his hammer in satisfaction. He rubbed his nose and said loudly, the demon lord has ordered that tomorrow, the princess's betrothal contest will be held in the entire hidden abyss. As soon as these words came out, all the devils in the surroundings revealed a blank expression. Someone raised a hand and screamed, Princess. Which princess? What's the betrothal contest? Dong! The short demon instantly took out a giant hammer and smashed it down. Idiot, our demon race doesn't have a princess. Naturally, she is the only daughter of our most honorable, great, and revered Lord Devil Lord. Apart from this lucky and honorable lord, who else in the world is worthy of the title of princess? What's the betrothal contest? Are you an illiterate who can't read? Can't you even understand human language? The betrothal contest is naturally to find a son-in-law. The chosen one will become the princess's husband and the demon's sovereign son-in-law. You idiots should understand now, right? Whoosh! As soon as these words came out, the entire square instantly boiled over. The sounds of discussion, screams, and inquiries almost overturned the entire Blood Flame City. The short demon was so angry that he smashed his hammer a few times to calm everyone down. Someone else said, if I remember correctly, the demon princess already has a fiancé, right? If she's already betrothed to someone else, how can she remarry? The one who spoke was a slightly hoarse but surprisingly pleasant voice. It was hard to tell if it was a man or a woman. The short demon looked into the crowd, trying to figure out who was speaking. However, there were too many people, so he couldn't tell where the voice came from. He could only harumph and scream, don't say that the short-lived son-in-law died early. The betrothal has already been cancelled. Even if he's not dead, our princess has such a noble identity. So what if she marries 2 more son-in-laws? Don't you think so? Yes. Long live the demon sovereign, long live the princess. I'm willing to be the princess's lover. Choose me, choose me. Piss off. What right do you have to be chosen by the princess and the demon sovereign? You should choose me. Sir, how do we participate in the betrothal contest? Our Blood Flame City is only the lowest level 1-star capital city. Do you think we have the qualifications to participate? Dong dong dong. The short devil hammered the hammer 3 times in a row before announcing loudly, the demon sovereign has decreed that anyone who is a citizen of the Hidden Abyss sect can participate in this marriage selection. Regardless of whether they were heaven-raised devils or fallen evils, they were all treated equally. But the giant hammer knocked again, signaling for everyone to stop shouting. It would be great if I have the chance to go to a 2-star main city to take a look. Night Spirit could not help but gulp a few more times. He looked at the male devil cultivators with envy and jealousy. Damn it! When she transformed, why didn't she turn into a man? What a pity! That's 100,000 mabe. But when he thought about how his cultivation had dropped to the 3rd rank of a demon weapon and the demon core that was missing a hole, Night Spirit's face fell again. Forget it, forget it. It's better not to think about it. Yi Liangchen, aren't you going to accept a mission? That seems to be. Chapter 4014. Due to unknown reasons, this site is not available on Sogu today. Please remember the domain name, Book Ocean Pavilion, and find your way home. The girl's cold and hoarse voice came to her ears. The people of the Xiaoyao sect can't be abandoned so easily. Even if Little Uncle Master was dead, she couldn't. Even if she was a noble demon princess, she could not. Mu Yan clenched her fists. She still remembered the conversation between Little Uncle Master and her at the Ning family. Little Uncle Master, didn't you agree to this marriage? You don't like the demon princess? I did it willingly. This engagement is of my own free will. I don't regret it in this life. Even if the demon princess had a new lover, even if the demon lord didn't like Little Uncle Master's identity as a human, they shouldn't have broken off the marriage when Little Uncle Master's life was uncertain. They even recruited a son-in-law in the Hidden Abyss. What did they treat Little Uncle Master as? A decoration that could come and go at his beck and call. Mu Yan's eyes were filled with coldness. At the very least, she had to ask the demon princess if she had no feelings for Little Uncle Master. Also, it was said that the marriage between Little Uncle Master and the demon princess was set on the 3-life stone. The name written on the 3-life stone was like a link to the soul. Regardless of whether the name was dead or alive, the 3-life stone would react. She wanted to confirm with her own eyes if Little Uncle Master was really dead. Oh no, the betrothal contest is going to be held tomorrow, so the original mission has been cancelled. Night Spirit looked around and frowned. Hey, what are you going to do now? The barrier to the Demon Cloud Ridge won't be open for the time being. Otherwise, you could kill a few demonic beasts to earn mabe. Just as he was speaking, a few male demons nearby inadvertently looked over. When they saw Mu Yan's face clearly, they drooled and revealed greedy and excited expressions. Night Spirit's heart tightened and she hurriedly grabbed Mu Yan. You don't have a place to stay tonight, do you? Go to my place and make do. Hypocritical fallen evil, I'm warning you, don't complain about my cave, or I'll bite you to death. A trace of warmth flits through Mayan's eyes, and she obediently lets her be pulled away. Out of the corner of his eye, he glanced at the few male demons who were quietly following him, and the corners of his mouth curled into a cold smile. 2 hours later, outside the main city. Night Spirit could not help but gulp as he looked at the few male fiends who were unconscious on the ground and stripped naked. Mu Yan counted the mabe in her hands and frowned. There are only 25 of them. You're so poor, yet you still have the nerve to rob us. But at least we can test the magic cores now. Let's go back to the city. Night Spirit's mouth was agape and her eyes were wide open. She only managed to find her voice after a long while. Why you crippled them just like that? That was 3 rank 7 MO weapons and 4 rank 6 MO weapons. Why did this little fallen evil girl kill them as easily as chopping melons and vegetables? Mu Yan glances at her and says hesitantly, sure enough, it's better to kill them. Night Spirit gulped again. Who said that fallen evils could be bullied? The seemingly innocent and harmless fallen evil in front of her was so terrifying. After that, Night Spirit was in a daze the entire time. Following Mu Yan back to the main city, she watched in a daze as Mu Yan handed over 10 Mabe and requested to test the magic core level. The person in charge of the magic core testing room was an old man with a big head and a small body. After putting away the Mabe, he touched a black ball and gestured for Mu Yan to put her hand on it before releasing her magic power. Instead, he turned into a clothing store. Alright, let's go. A familiar voice sounded in his ears. The slightly lowered voice was pleasant and neutral, making it hard to tell whether it was a man or a woman. Night Spirit looked up instinctively and asked, where are we going? What he saw was a handsome young man dressed in coarse black clothes. Didn't you tell me not to dislike your cave? Of course I'm going to your house. Night Spirit looked around, wanting to find the familiar figure of that peerless beauty. However, the surroundings were empty. Apart from the young man in front of him, there was no one else. Night Spirit hesitated. Yi. Liang Qin. Mayan nods, it's me. You, why are you dressed like this? In the fiend race, the strong were respected. No one would look down on women, and no one would have tender feelings for women. Chapter 4016. Due to unknown reasons, this website is suddenly unavailable on Sogu today. Fellow readers, please remember this website's domain name, Book Ocean Pavilion, and find your way home. That was because there would be no benefits even if she were to disguise herself. It would be even easier to discover her with a sweep of her spirit consciousness. However, Night Spirit was shocked to discover that she could not see through Yi Liangqin's disguise at all. It was a skinny youth with peerless looks. At most, he looked too fair and tender, like a male pet of those high-level demonesses. Night Spirit even scanned with her spirit consciousness but could not find any flaws. Night Spirit did not know that it was because Mu Yan's spirit consciousness was way too powerful. All she had to do was condense a bit of her spirit consciousness as a barrier and others would not be able to detect her bone structure, age and gender. Even those with cultivation realms higher than hers would not be able to break through that spirit consciousness barrier. Let alone a mere demonic soldier like Night Spirit. Mu Yan's gaze landed on the square. A few hours ago, the demons announced that they were going to find a husband for their princess. The woman that little Uncle Master liked was going to marry someone else soon. Yet, she did not even know if little Uncle Master was still alive. Are you disguising as a man because you want to? Mu Yan closed her eyes and looked at Night Spirit. I'm going to participate in the matchmaking contest. Night Spirit's eyes widened and she blurted, what? Are you crazy? A woman like you is going to participate in the matchmaking contest. Don't tell me you want to marry the princess. Mu Yan looked at her without saying anything. Suddenly, Night Spirit came to a realization. Why you want to use this method to get to a 3-star main city? That's not impossible. You're so strong. If you can stand out in the 1- and 2-star main cities, you'll be able to get to a 3-star main city in a short period of time. The main cities of the demon race were extremely far apart. Along the way, there were demonic creatures and corpse puppets that could not be reached easily. Furthermore, the barrier of each main city would only be opened periodically to allow one to go out. It would take at least 3 to 5 years to reach a 3-star main city alone. 3 to 5 years was not considered long for demons, but Mu Yen clearly could not wait. Participating in the matchmaking contest and winning the 1 and 2-star main cities competition was the fastest and easiest way to get to a 3-star main city. Night Spirit frowned. As long as you intentionally lose in a 3-star main city, you'll be able to escape successfully. But fucking hell, you're still too daring. Do you know how many worshippers there are in the hidden abyss? Do you know how high our status in the hidden abyss is as a princess who was blessed by heaven and earth? I'm telling you, if you're discovered, killing you would be considered a light punishment. Do you believe that those ruthless big shots in the Devil Imperial City can make you beg for death for the next 100 years? Mayan reached out and patted her on the shoulder. Night Spirit, thank you for your worry. I know what I'm doing. Who's worried about you? I was afraid that you would implicate me. Mayan hooks up her lips and chuckles, but she quickly restrains herself. She didn't tell the tough but soft-hearted female Amo soldier. She did not intend to give up the competition in a 3-star main city. She wanted to enter the 5-star magic fantasy city and meet the demon race's princess. At the very least, she wanted to personally ask the demon race's princess what she felt about her little uncle master. At the very least, she wanted to see the contract on the 3-life stone with her own eyes and confirm if her little uncle master was still alive. Of course, before that, she had to leave the hidden abyss and contact Di Mingju. As her internal injuries recovered over the past 2 days, she slowly recalled the last scene on the floating island. Using one soul to nurture another, exchanging a life for a life. Chapter 40:18. Who doesn't know that Yin Yuani, that idiot, is now half dead, directly beaten into a cripple by Di Mingju. Yin Wuji, that old fox, actually wants to trick our princess into getting engaged to that trash. Does he really think that we demons are fools, that we can be fooled so easily? When Min Wei heard this, he was stunned. Dead? Luo Yunxiao is dead. How is that possible? He couldn't help but look at Jun Shirtian. Jun Shirtian frowned slightly. Ever since the marriage was set, no one has been able to approach the 3-live stone. Therefore, no one knew if the engagement had been cancelled or if Luo Yunxiao was really dead. But one thing was certain. The Nether Realm would never honor this marriage agreement again. The wine boy also opened his mouth and said, Tianhe and I also tried to inquire about young Master Yun Zhao's news in the Nether Domain, but ultimately came up empty-handed. Moreover, Yin Wuji's attitude is very strange. When he mentioned young Master Yun Zhao's death, there was not a trace of sadness on his face. It was as if he could not wait for young Master Yun Zhao to die earlier. Xue Jiayi's beautiful face showed an expression of anger. Those bastards of the Nether Realm, a beauty like the Emperor's son-in-law should be placed in the room to admire. If they didn't want it, they could just give it to us demons, but they actually killed it. What a reckless waste of God's gifts. There isn't a single man in the polar domain, and the people in the Nether Domain are all beasts. There really aren't any good spirit cultivators. Ever since she had returned in low spirits from the polar domain, Xue Jiayi had treated this matter as a great humiliation. Even polar domain's monarch and Di Mingju's trusted subordinates are disliked by her. When she returned to the hidden abyss, she heard that the polar domain's sovereign emperor might have already secretly abducted her princess. Her dislike for him rose to the extreme. In other words, Tianhe, Wine Boy, Yao Dao, and Xue Jiayi were all shocked by the news. After the shock, they mercilessly cursed Di Mingju. Damn it! Their princess was still so young, and the people of their devil race hadn't even paid their respects to her, yet she had already been abducted. Although the young master was indeed very cute. But that was absolutely intolerable. As for Her Royal Highness having 2 husbands? On this matter, Shui Ji and the other 3 had the same thoughts as Jun Shirtian. What's wrong with 2 husbands? Their princess was so noble and unique. Wasn't it too few to have 2 husbands? Only the combination of the 2 best men in the world could barely match up to their princess. Who would have thought that one of the emperor's son-in-law would have a problem? With one less son-in-law, wouldn't Di Mingju have it easy? What if this hypocritical human bullied their princess in the future? Thus, the 4 of them came up with such a whimsical idea. Among the young geniuses of the hidden abyss demon race, the most outstanding and handsome male demon would be chosen to become the fiancé of the princess. At that time, even if the princess really likes Di Mingju and wants to marry him to the polar domain, with this, second prince's son-in-law, by her side, she won't be bullied by the people of the polar domain. As Min Wei listened to their chattering narration, he once again wiped his face with great difficulty. He really wanted to shout at these naive fellows. What do you take the polar domain Empyrean lord to be? First Fuma, second Fuma, and third Fuma. Letting the polar domain sovereign emperor share a wife with another man, to think that you can think of it. Tianhe refused to accept it. Human men have 3 wives and 4 concubines, why can't our princess? Could it be that our princess's nobility and excellence can't compare to those stinking men? Chapter 40:19. Min Wei thought, it's really tiring to talk to this group of silly demons. He coughed lightly and looked at Jun Shirtian, Demon Lord, have you really thought it through? Jun Shirtian's eyes were cold as he sneered, I sent someone to the polar domain to ask Di Mingju, but he didn't even want to meet me. Since that's the case, I'll let him come over obediently. Min Wei stared blankly, then immediately understood. Those guys from Tianhe came up with this marriage selection, it was indeed nonsense. But Jun Shirtian agreed, his intention was definitely not just a child's play. During this time, the demon race almost sent most of their spies to the mortal world to search for the whereabouts of the princess, but in the end, they found nothing. Now that young Master Yun Zhao's whereabouts are unknown, the marriage contract of 3 lives can't be investigated. The only way to find the princess is Di Mingju. If Di Mingju and the princess really have feelings for each other, when he heard that Jun Shirtian wanted to marry the princess, he would definitely come to obstruct them. If Di Mingju mercilessly turned a blind eye to it, then the princess would break all ties with him, and this marriage selection could also choose an excellent husband for the princess. Jun Shirtian's mouth curved into a cold smile, what's the big deal about the election in the hidden abyss? If Di Mingju doesn't come, I can still hold a banquet and invite all the demon cultivators, important cultivators, and spirit cultivators in the Shushan continent. Looking at the 3 realms and 6 paths, I don't believe that my daughter can't find a better one than Di Mingju. Min Wei swallowed his saliva and finally swallowed back the words he was about to say. Forget it, he couldn't care less about this. What's more, the Demon Lord was not wrong. The news of Her Royal Highness was close at hand, but they couldn't find her. Di Mingju clearly knew, but refused to tell. If it was him, he would also be angry. Since the demon race was unhappy, then naturally they would make other people unhappy as well. Well, in this marriage selection, they must find a good enough and handsome husband for Her Royal Highness. At that time, let Di Mingju regret it. But Jun Shang, young Master Yun Zhao's death should be a bit strange, should we go check it out? After all, he was their princess's ex-fiancé. Jun Shirtian slightly lowered his eyelids, covering the complicated light in his eyes. He whispered, "No need." The actual competition for the betrothal contest would only begin in the afternoon. But early in the morning, the square in the center of Blood Flame City was already packed with people. Because on that day, a messenger from the Demon Imperial City would personally select the male demons who were qualified to participate in the selection. A simple tent had already been set up in the northeast corner of the square. There was a long queue outside the tent.